You do not need to buy a stack of closet freshener bags, expensive odor sprays, or a mini dehumidifier just to deal with a closet that smells old. Sometimes the thing that makes that stuffy closet feel comfortable again is simply an old $5 method, a few basic household items, and a way of thinking many people forgot. What I like most about this trick is that it does not try to hide the problem with a strong fragrance. It does not cover damp smells with artificial perfume and then let the old odor come back even stronger a few days later. It follows an older, more practical approach. Pull out some moisture, neutralize the odor, increase airflow, and bring your closet back to a dry, clean-smelling, comfortable state in the way your clothes, shoes, blankets, and seasonal items actually need. If you have ever opened a closet door and immediately smelled stale fabric, light dampness, or that closed-up room smell, then you know exactly what this feels like. And that happens in a lot of American homes. A closet next to the bathroom, a downstairs wardrobe, a rental apartment closet with poor ventilation, a closet packed with winter coats, shoes, cardboard boxes, old blankets, suitcases, and items no one has touched for a long time. The door closes, the air stands still. A little moisture from the room, from clothes that were not fully dry, from towels, from shoes, from summer air, from the floor, from an exterior wall. Not enough that you can see water, but enough that over time the closet begins to smell. And what many people do not realize is that the smell is not really the first problem. It is only a signal that the air inside is too stale. That moisture has stayed longer than it should. That materials inside the closet like fabric, paper, leather, pressed wood, and cardboard are holding on to what should have been released. And if you leave it alone, a closet that smells old today can become the place where mold starts growing tomorrow. That is where this old $5 method is truly worth it. Not because it is magical, but because it addresses the things actually causing that smell. The simplest version of this method uses 3 very inexpensive things: a box of baking soda or a bowl of baking soda, a few pieces of activated charcoal or deodorizing charcoal if you have it, or a small bowl of white vinegar to clean the closet before treatment. And one important step many people skip: get the old air out of the closet first, then let the odor-absorbing materials do their job. In other words, this old method is not just about putting some container in a corner and hoping for the best. It is a small system. Clean the light odor source, dry the space, absorb the remaining smell, and stop the odor from coming back. That is why it works much better than simply hanging one scented bag inside the closet. Start with why the closet smells in the first place. A lot of people think it is only old clothes, but it is more practical than that. A musty closet is usually the result of 3 things working together. The first is stale air. When the closet door stays shut all the time, air does not move, so every odor stays trapped longer. The second is long-lasting light moisture. It does not have to look wet. Just a moderate level of moisture for several days is enough for fabric, wood, paper, and leather to start smelling old. The third is odor-holding material. Shoes, coats, heavy blankets, cardboard boxes, towels, suitcases, and laundry that is not fully dry can all hold smell and release it back into the closet air. That is why an effective old method does not begin with fragrance. It begins with the question, where is the smell coming from? Where is the moisture coming from, and what inside the closet is holding it? This is the part modern life often makes us forget. We are used to buying a product to cover the problem. But old methods usually force you to understand the problem first. This $5 method begins by cleaning out the closet for real. Open the closet door. Take everything or almost everything out if possible. At least the items most likely to hold odor, such as shoes, cardboard boxes, heavy blankets, towels, and clothes that have not been worn in a long time. When the closet is emptier, you will be surprised by how clearly the true smell of the space reveals itself. If the closet has carpet, check whether the carpet is holding smell. If there are old cardboard boxes, this is the time to think about removing some of them or replacing them with plastic bins. Cardboard holds moisture and odor very stubbornly. If any item is clearly causing the smell, such as old sneakers, a damp coat, or a towel that never fully dried, deal with those items first. A closet will never stay fresh for long if you place the odor source right back inside after cleaning. After that, quickly wipe the inside surfaces of the closet. For most normal closets, you can use a well-wrung damp cloth and a little diluted white vinegar to wipe the floor shelves and baseboards, especially the corners that rarely get touched. Vinegar helps cut light old odor and remove the layer of damp dust that has built up over time. But remember the important rule: the cloth should only be slightly damp and should not add more moisture to the closet. You are reducing odor, not adding humidity. After wiping, leave the closet door fully open for a while. If possible, open the room door, run a light fan, or create a cross-flow of air. This step is extremely important. Older generations understood that old smells do not like moving air. A closet can hold odor for weeks when closed up, but once it is opened, cleaned, and ventilated the right way, it already feels dramatically different even before you place any odor absorber inside. Now we finally get to the $5 materials. Baking soda is the center of this method. Not because it is trendy, but because it is cheap, easy to find, and very good at absorbing odor in small spaces. You can pour baking soda into a shallow bowl, a small open container, or several small cups if the closet has multiple corners. The more open surface area it has, the better it contacts the air. Place it on the closet floor, on a shelf, or in a corner where it will not spill. If the closet smells like shoes, place 1 cup near the shoe area. If the smell comes from thick blankets or coats, place another cup on an upper shelf. Do not seal the baking soda in a lidded jar and expect it to absorb odor. It has to be exposed to the air to work. If you want stronger results while still staying around the $5 range, you can add a few pieces of activated charcoal or 1 simple charcoal deodorizer bag. Baking soda is very good for neutralizing general odor. Activated charcoal is especially useful for absorbing old stale smells that linger. The two are not the same, but they support each other very well in a small space like a closet. 1 bowl of baking soda and 1 small charcoal bag are enough for many typical closets. And that is why I call this the $5 method. Not because every location will cost exactly $5, but because in essence, this is an extremely cheap solution compared with buying a pile of specialty closet fresheners that only cover the smell for a few days. However, here is the most important point. If you only place baking soda inside a dirty, stuffy, crowded, damp closet, the result will be weak. This old method works because it follows the right order. Clear out the odor source. Wipe lightly. Air it out. Then place the odor absorber. That is what practical people in the past understood very clearly. Cheap materials still work very well, but only when you do not force them to fight a pile of unaddressed problems. Picture a closet in a rental apartment. It sits next to the bathroom. People in the home often hang towels in the room, moisture from the morning shower still lingers, and the closet stays shut all the time. If you only place a scented bag inside, you will smell fragrance mixed with the old odor. But if you remove some items, get rid of cardboard boxes, wipe the closet corners with diluted vinegar, leave the door open for an hour, place baking soda at the bottom and charcoal in an upper corner, and build the habit of not putting damp items back inside the closet, will feel noticeably better after only a few days. And that is the difference between covering a smell and fixing the conditions that create it. Now let's talk about the things you absolutely should not do. The first mistake is spraying perfume or air freshener directly onto clothes, shoes, or the stuffy closet space and then shutting the door again. That usually only creates a stronger layer of smell instead of removing the base odor. The second mistake is putting items back in before they are fully dry. Even 1 slightly damp shirt, 1 pair of slightly wet shoes, or 1 towel that did not dry fully can bring the moisture right back. The third mistake is keeping too many things in a space that is too crowded. Air needs room to move. If the clothes are packed tightly from side to side, touching each other with boxes and shoes piled on the floor, the closet almost has no ability to breathe on its own. The fourth mistake is using cardboard for long-term storage in a damp closet. Cardboard absorbs moisture very quickly, then holds smell and makes the whole space feel older. The fifth mistake is ignoring signs of a more serious problem. If the wall behind the closet feels cold and damp, if there are strange spots, peeling paint, or a heavy moldy smell that returns quickly, even after cleaning, you may have a moisture ventilation or real mold problem. At that point, baking soda is only a helper, not the root solution. And that is something old ways that work always needs to say clearly. Old tricks are strongest when they are used at the right scale. This one is very good at fixing a closet that smells old because it is stuffy and lightly damp. It was not created to solve an entire wall that is actively leaking. For a normal clothing closet, the maintenance routine is very simple. After the first treatment, leave 1 bowl of baking soda in the closet for a few weeks and replace it when needed. If you use activated charcoal, replace it or refresh it according to the instructions for the type you use. Every now and then, open the closet while cleaning the house or when the weather is drier. If possible, do not leave the closet completely shut for many weeks without opening it. With shoes, do not store them away while they are still damp. With winter blankets, make sure they are completely clean and dry before storing them. With storage containers, if you live in a humid area, choose plastic bins instead of cardboard. With towels, do not hang them temporarily inside the closet. All of these things sound small, but those small changes are exactly what keep the smell from returning. There is an old principle worth remembering here. Any space that stays dry and has room to breathe rarely smells old. A closet is no different. It does not need to be fancy. It just needs less crowding, less moisture, and some way for old air to be replaced. What makes this method useful is not only that it saves money, it is that it teaches you to see your house differently. Before, you might have thought the closet smelled bad simply because it was old. But after using this method, you begin to see the connection between humidity, airflow, storage habits, and smell in the home. You start noticing which items are holding odor. You start removing the things that make the closet feel more suffocated. You understand that closet odor is not a mystery. It is simply the result of the conditions inside that closet. And when the conditions change, the smell changes too. That is exactly what old methods do so well. They do not just solve one small problem. They give you back a more practical way of thinking about your home. If you have a small hall closet, a bedroom wardrobe, a towel closet near the bathroom, or a rental apartment closet that always has a light old smell, try this $5 method. Open it. Remove some things. Wipe it lightly. Air it out. Place baking soda. Add charcoal if needed. And most importantly, do not bring the moisture back in. You do not need an expensive machine for this. You need a method that is honest, cheap, simple, and based on a clear reason why it works. A closet becomes fresh again not because you sprayed something stronger. It happens because you removed what was causing the smell, changed the conditions inside the closet, and used a few very inexpensive materials to help the air rebalance. That is why old ways still matter. They are not flashy. They do not need giant advertising claims. But they do one small job very well. And many times, for a small corner of a home, one small job done the right way is all you need. If there is one thing worth remembering from this trick, it is this. A closet smells fresh again, not because of fragrance. It starts with dryness, airflow, light cleaning, and one simple bowl quietly absorbing odor in the corner. That is the kind of old knowledge that made homes feel better long before we got used to buying a new product for every small problem.